Hello and welcome once again to another episode of High Tech Fever, the show that interviews inventors, entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, and other key players in the greater Cambridge technology venture zone. I am your host, Joost Bonsen, and I am delighted to invite and welcome as my special guest, Chuck Eesley, who is a doctoral student in the MIT Sloan School of Management in the innovation and entrepreneurship area. Chuck, thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Maybe you could get us going by giving us a sense for what being a scholar or a student of entrepreneurship is.
Sure.
It seems a bit odd.
Right. Yeah. It's not that common to be studying this thing that most people just go out there and do. But it's actually a lot more like entrepreneurship than most people think. You know, when you're studying entrepreneurship, it's actually a very entrepreneurial environment. They kind of both have this thing in common where you're kind of, pursuing your own ideas, kind of coming up with some notion, and then, trying to make it real in the world and showing people that, this is a real thing.
So a scholar of entrepreneurship is interested in understanding better what it is that founders of companies do. When you say doing that is in and of itself entrepreneurial, what is your research life look like? I mean, what are you spending time? What questions are you answering?
Right. So mainly what I'm interested in are the various determinants of performance and determinants of success for high-tech entrepreneurial companies. And so, what I spend most of my time doing is looking at, okay, we see this wide range of a number of startup companies. What are the factors that are important to consider if you want to be successful?
So that could be things ranging from the qualities of the individual founding entrepreneurs. It could be the industry that they choose to pursue. It could be the availability and friendliness of the venture investment. It could be all of those and much more, I imagine.
Right, yeah. I mean, broadly, it could be, characteristics of the person, characteristics of the idea, or it could be kind of more macro-level characteristics of the industry and, the environment that they're doing that startup activity in.
Now, you're doing this work at MIT's Sloan School of Management, the business school,
right,
in the technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship group area. What's that? And you're a doctoral student there, right? So you're doing your PhD studies in that group. What's the group all about?
Right, so the group is basically about the management of technology and entrepreneurship. And so we're basically one group within the business school that focuses on this area, whereas there's also the marketing group, finance group, organization studies, and kind of, we're all there together studying similar issues, but our group is kind of more focused on innovation and entrepreneurship.
So technology venturing is the essence of whether it's inside a large company, you're managing technology in a big company, or it's technology in a startup company. That full spectrum is covered by the group. Is that
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And your particular bent surrounds the startup company, the emerging growth company, the classic entrepreneurial venture. Wow, okay, there's much more to be asked about that. I want to maybe get some preliminary lessons learned and share them with us. But I'm always curious how my guests get to where they are now. What inspired you to be a scholar of entrepreneurship? Seems like in studying these entrepreneurial folks, you'd sort of be inspired to be one.
Right.
Not that faculty, not that professors aren't themselves, pursuing compelling work, but what inspired you in particular to pursue this area?
Yeah, well, that's actually how I got started in this. Was so I did my undergrad at Duke University.
Yeah, sure.
And was majoring in basically biology and genetics there, and was kind of full-on hardcore, kind of into science and new technology, and more kind of from the academic side of things. But then my junior year, I guess, is kind of where all this got started.
Where something happened. Huh? What happened? What happened in your junior year?
So I went on a study abroad trip, because this had been kind of an experience that I'd seen a lot of people had kind of grown and transformed. So I went to India.
Ooh, whereabouts?
I was in Rajasthan mainly, kind of traveling all over there.
Nice.
And so during the course of that trip, we stayed in a village for 3 nights. So we had kind of a homestay in this kind of village environment. and they'd had drought for the past 3 years. So their main crop was corn, but their corn was all completely dried up, wilted,
stunted.
Yeah, so they were down to eating basically one meal a day. And so this was a powerful experience, kind of seeing this. And when I got back to Duke, my work-study job there was to videotape lectures for a markets and management class.
Really? So here you are as a biology student with this trip behind you, videoing business professors, it sounds like, markets and management.
Right. And it just so happened that the first lecturer there was a biology professor who was talking about this new variety of corn which she had developed through some biotech techniques, and it was drought resistant, pest resistant, so on and so forth. So she was
low water corn product, food product. Yeah.
Right. So she was actually mentioning that this could be grown in drought regions and conditions in Africa and in India. So I went up to her afterwards and said, I know some people who really need this corn. I would love to try and help somehow.
Very practical. Okay, and what happened?
Right. So I put a startup team together. We entered the Duke Startup Challenge, which is basically the equivalent of the MIT 100K there at Duke. It's been going for a few years. And so we wound up winning the Duke Startup Challenge back in 2002, and that's when I kind of caught the entrepreneurial bug.
Now, what was the name of your venture at that point?
So the name of her venture, which she had already incorporated, was Sundance Genetics.
Sundance, okay. And you guys built upon that, right? Wrote the plan and helped make that happen.
Yeah, put together the board of advisors, formed a startup team. We were talking with various angel and VC investors, kind of doing everything that you have to do.
It's sort of agri-revolution, agri-biotech revolution.
Right, agro-biotech, basically.
Now, what's it? I mean, did you stick with this? Is it an escalating venture? Is it ongoing? What?
It is ongoing. At that point, when we graduated, most of the other people kind of decided to go their own ways, and we had a few disagreements about what to do with the prize money which we had won.
Really?
And I guess this was kind of my first big lesson.
First experience in retroactive negotiations. Don't do them.
That's
the lesson learned.
Yeah. So the big lesson I think out of this for any potential entrepreneurs out there is you really want to talk with your potential co-founders
and have some agreement about the big picture at least. Yeah. Everything where it's likely to lead to disagreement. Yeah. Try to agree as much as possible up front.
Definitely. Key thing.
Okay. Well, nevertheless, it was a compelling idea, and it allowed you to cut your teeth in this area. What did you do beyond the Sundance genetics business? What beyond that?
So at that point, I was interested kind of in entrepreneurship, but having this kind of experience with it, I knew I basically needed to learn more about it.
Yeah.
And so it was at that point I started talking to people in the Fuqua School of Business and kind of learned that.
Now, Fuqua is at Duke. It's like the MIT Sloan School of HBS, right? It's a business school there, right?
Right. Yeah. So that's when I basically learned that there were people who actually studied, what are the factors associated with success and performance, and got started talking with them. And that's when I decided to basically apply to PhD programs, learn a little bit more about how this whole process works, kind of outside of just the, scientific point of view, and and then possibly try again in the future. But at least to kind of learn more about it and kind of contribute to teaching and contribute to the knowledge that is known about how to make these things work.
So let's see. When did you finish up your Duke time?
So that was 2002.
2002, and then what did you do after graduation? Right away into a doctoral program, or?
No, I worked in various research labs around Duke for the next few years. So I worked in the neuroscience lab down there and was doing some fMRI studies and kind of imaging of the brain. And
has anybody done an fMRI study of an inventor at looking at the point of ideation?
No, they haven't. There's definitely a lot of interest in creativity and so on, but
we'll put that on hold because that's a whole side conversation which we'll probably have to cover at one point or another, right? The sort of root. Can we image the essence of ideation or the essence of creativity?